Dean Seacrest, esteemed faculty, proud parents, family and friends, and distinguished graduates, congratulations. Training camp is over. Now it's time to get off the bench, get on a team, get in the game, get engaged, and get started making a difference. Now, I don't know why a school that doesn't have a football team has a football guy as your commencement speaker. We got to fix that. But all over America, there's wise, intelligent, powerful people offering wisdom to graduates who are about to start the game of life. And despite that great introduction, I'm not here because of who I am. I'm here because of what I do. You see, I got the greatest job in the world. As president of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, my job is to measure greatness. That's what we do all year long. Of the 100 million men and now women who have played this game, there's only been 2.2 million who have played it in college. There's only 27,000 that have ever been paid to play it, coach it, officiate it, or administer it in the National Football League. And of that, as of this August, there will only be 303 who have a bronze bust here in Canton, Ohio. You know, my son who played in the National Football League when I got this job said, "Dad, this is going to be so cool." He said, "You know what we say in the league is not that you make it into the Hall of Fame, but that you're going to Canton." You know, that's Brett Favre. He's going to Canton. Well, you're here in Canton now. You were educated in Canton. You stand for excellence. And the question is, what are you going to do now in the game of life? And before you go, I know today is all about you. But I think I remember what you're feeling about like. You see, the reason I'm at the Pro Football Hall of Fame now and in Canton, Ohio, is because I'm repaying a lifelong debt. My mom and dad couldn't read or write. And because of my dad's hard work in a lumber mill and my mom taking care of little kids, I had the opportunity to compete in sports, learn the values of the game, be the first in my class, like a lot of you, to graduate from college, go on to law school, tour the world, and be with people like you here today. So I hope before you hit the game of life that you'll pause for a second and think about the people who got you here. About a mom and dad who loved you and prayed for you, who worried about you. About perhaps a great teacher or professor who inspired you. And do me a favor, don't text them. You know, go see them. Shake their hand. Give them a handwritten note. Because they've put everything in their faith on you that you're going to change this world. You know, life is a team sport. And the greatest team you're ever going to play is going to be your family. The family you came from and the family you go to. And I get this opportunity to knock on the door of the guys who make it into the Hall of Fame. To look into their eyes as I tell them that they're going to Canton as one of the greatest football players, coaches, or contributors to ever be in this game. It's a great moment, I gotta tell you. My first year, we didn't have time to knock on the doors, so I had to call the guys to get them to Radio City Music Hall. My first guy was Michael Strahan, because he lived in New York, and we had to get him across town. And the second one was a gentleman named Derek Brooks, who was a friend of mine, so I just wanted to call him and give him the good news. But the third one was a punter named Ray Guy. He's the only punter to ever be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And he'd been eligible for 29 years. 9 times he'd been a finalist. And 9 times he'd been denied. He almost didn't answer my cell phone because my number is 714 and he was looking for area code 330. But fortunately he did, and I said, "Ray, this is Dave Baker. I'm the new president of the Pro Football Hall of Fame." And in his slow southern Mississippi drawl, he said, "Yes, sir." And I said, "Ray, it is my great pleasure." And I got that far, and I could hear him hit the ground. and his phone was rattling around, and his wife was saying, "Honey, sweetheart, are you okay?" And I thought I'd killed my first Hall of Famer. And it was 2 minutes before he got to his feet again. But when he did, he said, "You know, I'm sorry. I didn't even know until now what this meant to me." Because it was his legacy. And that's my job, and all of us at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, is to preserve the legacy of the greatest to have ever played the game. And if I could give you one gift today, I wish I could give you the gift of looking forward so that you could look back to see your legacy. What difference are you going to make, and what are you going to leave behind, and what are you going to do with this great education from Kent State to make a difference in your life? But I can tell you, I've been in a small room with 130 Hall of Famers, and just me. And it's not just about hero worship for football. I'll tell you, every one of these guys had some incredible character and an incredible journey to get to Canton, Ohio. And it's palpable. You could almost cut it with a knife, the character that's in the room. And I've learned from that 5 things that all of us need to live a Hall of Fame life. One is commitment. When you go out for the team, you make a super decision that I'm going to be committed to something that is bigger than myself. And it's kind of this miracle that in a world that is all about Facebook friends and trying to keep up with the Kardashians, you know, that somehow, that by surrendering myself to something that is more noble and honorable than myself, that I actually become more relevant and not less. And the one thing I do know, graduates, is that if you don't choose a master is going to choose you. It is going to maybe paying off your MasterCard or your Visa card or your car payment or your house payment. But I hope and pray that if you want to live a great life, you will commit yourself to something that is more honorable and noble than just your life. The second thing is integrity. You know, it may not seem like it to you, but their inflation of that football really does matter, okay? Those rules do matter. And we all play in the game of life by certain rules. And when we train with integrity, because if we don't, when you get into the game of life, you're going to fail. And integrity is critically important, because if you've got that base of understanding and that integrity, then frankly answering all the other questions in life become a lot more simple, because you can respond from that one position of trust. And trust is critically important to every success. Because if you can surround your people with trust, you're going to be stronger. And in this profession, I'll tell you, if you can trust someone, if a quarterback can trust his receiver, or an offensive lineman can trust the person playing next to him, or if a husband can trust his wife, you shave milliseconds from execution. And when you add up all those milliseconds, execution becomes easier and magic happens and you score a touchdown. Or you raise a great child. The third thing is courage. You know, football is a difficult, challenging, violent sport. And life is a lot tougher than football. You're going to get knocked down. You're going to get hurt. You're going to get bloodied. But if you have a commitment to the right things, if you live a life with integrity, you will overcome fear to have courage to live life. If you have friends that you trust, you'll be able to huddle up and overcome that adversity on the other side of that line. And courage is critically important, because when your marriage is on the line, or your job is on the line, or you're facing a healthcare crisis, a financial crisis, or an ethical crisis, courage can give you hope that no matter how late it is in the game of life, that you still have hope. The fourth thing is respect. If you want to have a great life and a legacy, you need to have respect. And respect is earned really by giving it away. By living a life of commitment, of integrity, of courage, is how you get respect. And respect leads to love, and love is the greatest thing in the world. You know, most of us make money so that somehow we can buy love. You know, I love my wife. She is a beautiful lady. And I kind of thought in the old days, if I bought the right car, maybe I could impress her. Or if I got the right suit. But now I'm a grandparent, and all I know is that all you need is an ice cream cone. But love comes from respect. And if you want to lead a great life, be a person who loves greatly. The last thing is excellence. And despite the gold coats that you will see at enshrinement in a couple months here, despite the national TV telecast, I want to tell you that excellence is messy. It requires commitment, it requires integrity, it requires courage, it requires respect, but it's messy. In my profession, it is earned by sweat and blood and dirty uniforms and that frozen tundra at Lambeau Field sticking out of your face mask. And it's earned over a long time. One of the professors in my field, the great Vince Lombardi, said that we can never achieve perfection. But if we chase perfection, we might just catch excellence. And please understand, this isn't about hero worship. I am fully aware that in that gallery of 303 bronze busts, O.J. Simpson's in there too. And I make no value judgment on O.J., I wasn't there. But none of those guys are perfect. I'm not perfect, you're not perfect. But what they did was they demonstrated commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and excellence over a period of time where they overcame adversity and they drug a whole lot of other people with them. So much so that they were recognized for their greatness. You know, I pray for each and every one of you that you will have more than a great car and a great house. I pray that you'll make a difference. I pray that you'll live a life of excellence. The greatest definition I ever saw of excellence actually came from the autobiography of a Shakespearean actor named Laurence Olivier. Now, I'm fully aware that some of you may not know who that is, but you might ask your grandparents when you go home. Because Laurence Olivier was knighted in England as being one of the best actors in his time. And he found himself in Beverly Hills at a garden party, back when they were beginning to make talking motion pictures. And somebody saw who he was and they said, "Sir, would you please, you do it so well, would you mind, would you please do the monologue from Macbeth?" And he stood and he did it and people gathered around, and then someone said, "Hamlet." More gathered around, and someone said, "King Lear." And then pretty soon everyone around, and they said, "Othello." And finally he said, "Please, please, just one more." And with that, he tells the story of how an old minister in the back with a clerical collar raised his hand and said, "Excuse me, sir." He says, "If you please, could you please recite the 23rd Psalm?" And people kind of giggle because I guess they didn't think it was quite up to the dramatic capabilities of Shakespeare. But in one of those moments that was larger than life, Olivier kind of straightened his back and stuck out his chin and thought he might remember it as a child, so he clearly said it with the strongest voice possible. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." And he went through the entire 23rd Psalm, so much so that everybody saw him rise to the occasion and they gave him a standing ovation. And just as the applause after a long time began to die down, he said in his youthful arrogance, he said to the old minister, he said, "Now, sir, if you don't mind, perhaps you'd recite the 23rd Psalm for me." And they giggled just like you did now. But Olivier said to his great amazement that the old minister pulled out a chair and he stood up on top of it. And in a voice that was not strong but was weak, in a cadence that was not regular but was broken, he barely eked out the 23rd Psalm. But Olivier said when he was through, he said there wasn't one dry eye in the entire house. And he said, "Today, sir, you have taught me a great lesson. You see, I won their eyes and their ears, but you won their hearts." That's my prayer for you, that you would live a life of commitment, of integrity, of courage, of respect and excellence, not to win the eyes and the ears of the world, but their hearts. Good luck. God bless.